Hello, welcome to the 2022 version of the Polkadot web wallet, which is going to have the newest features that have been added since 2021, which was the most recent tutorial that I've done on the Polkadot web wallet. And I'm talking about an in-depth tutorial where I actually go through the different details, and I'm going to be doing exactly the same today for the 2022 version. Many people have found the 2021 version interested, so I'd like to thank you very much for watching that. I have seen your comments, I have seen your feedback, so that's why I'm doing the latest one now to cover all the latest updates, which includes the Parachains, of course. So I'm going to be treating this as if you're creating this wallet from the beginning and you don't already have one. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is, by the way, go to the links in the description of this video or in the pinned comment to download the polkadot.js web browser extension, which can be used on both Google Chrome or Mozilla. For example, I'm doing this on Mozilla in this tutorial, but I'm personally using Google Chrome. Okay, and because I don't want to be deleting my accounts, I'm using Mozilla for that, because I'm using this for testing purposes. So the first thing you do here is you click the plus symbol once you download the browser extension. Okay, you go to create a new account, or you can import an account if you already have a pre-existing seed, which is the 12-word passphrase, which we'll take a look at in a moment. You can also derive from an account, or you can connect a Ledger device if you're interested. But keep in mind that with the Ledger device, you can only do it for Kusama and Polkadot, in the sense that you can only store DOT and KSM on a Ledger. You can't store any of the Parachain tokens. Unfortunately, the other option is to restore from a backup JSON file, which, by the way, you can download once you create a wallet, and then you have a password attached to it. So you can only unlock this JSON file with a password. You need to remember that password. If you don't have the pre-existing seed, but you have the JSON file, but you don't have the password, then you're in trouble, because you cannot unlock that wallet, right? It can only be decrypted using the password unless you have the pre-existing seed. And that's why it's very important to take a note of this on a piece of paper to avoid any kind of hackers, any kind of viruses trying to steal your 12-word mnemonic seed, which we see here. So we need to copy this to the clipboard for the purposes of this. You can do it, okay, and save it maybe in a notepad or something, and then you need to re-add it again. That's the problem, because if you actually click out of this page, it actually goes away, right? You cannot continue on from this point. So this is probably one of the downsides of using this polkadot.js extension. Okay, I'm going to copy it to clipboard, but I'm not actually going to save it, so I'm not going to know what this 12-word mnemonic seed is. I'm just simply going to do that, right? So I'm going to say, yes, I have saved it, because you are meant to write this down. And then if you click on the next step here, this is important, okay, the network. So you should allow use on any chain. What this basically means is, it means all of these chains, including Polkadot, Kusama, all these different parachains here, Akala, Altair, and then everything else, even the live networks, which we'll take a look at in a moment. Every single thing will be usable for that same account. So basically, you'll have your account with different public addresses for all these different chains. Okay, that's the beauty of it, okay, by using the allow use on any chain. And this is the recommended option if you are contributing to any of the crowd loans using Polkadot or Kusama. Okay, so now let's give it a name. So I'm going to say tutorial account, and the password as well. Let's give it a password here. Okay, add the account with the generated seed. Let's choose that, and there we go. You see, we've got tutorial account here. This is my brand new account. Okay, now if we go to this page here, and this is the Polkadot web wallet, okay, nothing to do with the extension. They are two separate entities. There's another option for you to add an account by simply going to add account here, okay, but then this would limit your account to Polkadot only, okay. But what we did here with the Polkadot.js extension is we've created an account known as an injected account, which basically allows you to use it for all the different networks. So all we need to do now is refresh this page. Okay, and now we're going to see our new account. There we go, tutorial account. Okay, and as you can see, we've got a public address here, which starts with 13H. Okay, we've got the balances, we've got the send button, and different options here. So if you want to copy this public address, rather than, you cannot copy it from here, as you can see, right, because of the three dots that we've got there. It's just showing it the first part and the last part. You simply click on this little bubble here, and it basically copies it for you. Okay, so that's how you know that you've got that public address here. Again, you can restore your account if you don't use Polkadot.js directly from the Polkadot web wallet as well. Now if we look on the left here, if you click on the left hand side, now you can see all the different accounts here. Okay, so let's say, for example, you wanted to go to Akala, which is a parachain, and you click on switch, then you will be able to see your account with a different public address. Okay, And here you go. See, it starts with 23Z here. Okay, this tutorial account now has a different public address for Akala. And this is where you need to send your Akala if you're sending them from an exchange, if you're buying them, right? One other thing to keep in mind is for a majority of networks, because of all the different updates that are taking place all the time, is you need to be updating your metadata, okay, just to be up to date. So what you do here is you go to settings, you go to metadata, and it's very easy to follow because it shows you the little one symbol here, which basically tells you that this is where you need to update, that there's one update required, and then you click on update metadata here, and then on the separate screen you're going to get another page here which basically shows you, actually I'm going to move it over here so you can see it. Okay, so this basically just asks you to do the metadata update. Yes, do it. Okay, you press this and then it updates it for you, and then when you go back to accounts, that's it, you're now updated to the latest metadata. Okay, so that's how it works there. Now let's say, for example, you wanted to send some funds. You simply just click the send button here, and now we've got different options here. It'll ask you where do you want to send it from and where do you want to send it to. Okay, so let's say you want to send them to an exchange. You've got the option on copying the exchange's deposit address for your Akala ACA, okay, for this example, and pasting it here. Okay, you could paste it there, and keep in mind the existential deposit of 100 milli Akala. Okay, that's like 0.1 I believe ACA that you need to keep in your account to keep your account active. So let's say you had one Akala that you wanted to send, for example, you could just hit on make transfer here, and then of course you would have to sign and submit the transaction. Okay, as you can see here, this is the option how it looks. Okay, sign and submit the transaction, enter the password for this account, sign the transaction, and that's it. Again, the password is the password that I showed you at the beginning there when you're creating the wallet. So let's cancel this, okay, because we're not going to be making any transfer here. Okay, so that's how that basically works. Now the other option is, if you want to simplify it for yourself, is you go to address book here, you go to add contact, you paste your, or you have to copy your deposit address from the exchange. You paste that deposit address from the exchange over here. You give it a name, say the exchange's name, just to keep it simple, maybe Binance, maybe KuCoin. You click the save button, and then that'll actually add it as your contact here in the address book. So what you can actually do then is, if you go back to accounts and you go to send, in this drop down menu where you can see my other account, you'll also be able to see your address book account, which is the contact account from the exchange. So that's to keep it simple in the case that you have multiple accounts, like say KuCoin addresses, maybe you have a Binance address, an OKX address, whatever, right? Any other exchange, MEXC, whatever, right? So you could keep all of your addresses grouped there so that you can make things you could keep things simple, right? You don't have to worry about copying and pasting addresses all the time. You've got it stored in your accounts because you're constantly sending there. So that'll keep it simple for you. So that's really nice and tidy there. So that's another option, okay? Now the other option is, of course, transfer here directly. You press that button and then it takes you directly to the send button, which is exactly the same as this one here. And that's pretty much it. Now on the left hand side here, like I said, we do have the different networks here. So from the 2021 version, it is a bit different, okay, because now we've got Polkadot and Parachains. So what this means is we've got Polkadot, which is the relay chain, the main network, layer 0, if you want to think of it this way, and then we've got the layer 1s, which is Akala, which is a Parachain. We've got Astra, which is a Parachain. Centrifuge is now going to be a Parachain as well. Clover, Infinity, all of these are different Parachains here. As you can see, Moonbeam, Nodal has recently become a Parachain. Parallel is a Parachain. Now Polkadex is not a Parachain yet, it's a Parathread, but it doesn't matter, right? I'm just trying to point out here that all the Parachains that are going to be live are going to be here under this section here for Polkadot. And then we've got the Kusama section. So to keep things simple, they've grouped Kusama and with their own Parachains here. So we've got Kusama, which is the relay chain, just like Polkadot. It's Polkadot's little brother. Think of it this way. This is the main chain. And then off Kusama, we've got the layer 1s on top of it, right? Altair, Basilisk, Bifrost, BitCountry Pioneer, Calamari, Cross Shadow, Darwinia Scrub Parachain. All of these different ones, okay? So again, once again, if you actually go to one of these, for example, let's say I wanted to go to Altair and I switch, then once again, it looks exactly the same as I showed you with Akala or with Polkadot. You get a specific, unique public address that is associated to your account, and this is the address where you're going to be depositing your air tokens from an exchange, okay? So this is how it works. I'm trying to explain this in a really simple way for you. Now, the other thing we want to talk about now is with regards to these parachains, okay? So sometimes if you have been taking part in a parachain auction, and we'll take a look at how those look in a moment, then you may want to claim your crowd loan reward, okay, because you are entitled to claim that reward. So normally what you have to do is you need to click on the three dots here on the right hand side. Now I don't see this option because with this account I don't actually have any crowd loan tokens, but if I would, then it would actually give me the option to click on unlock vested tokens. So what you would do then is you would click on that, and then you would sign a transaction, and then you would actually unlock the tokens that are locked for me, okay, for the specific duration of the lease. That would actually show up here on a drop down. I would actually have a drop down and it will show me the locked amount and the available balance, okay. So that's how you could do that. Now, one other option you could actually claim those Parachain tokens is if you go to developer section, extrinsics, and then here you need to make sure you're selecting the account that actually has a relationship with the crowd loan contribution, okay. You had to have contributed from that specific account, okay, with your Kusama or Polkadot, and then you normally click on the drop down here, you look for the vesting option, you select the vesting option, and there's normally an option called claim here, okay, or even vest sometimes. It depends on the project, right? It could be vest or claim. So normally it's claim with the brackets. You press the claim one, and normally you just click submit transaction, you sign the transaction, and that's it. And then your funds would actually be unlocked in your available balance here. You'd actually see them here, which means they would become transferable, so you could send them to an exchange, okay. So that's to keep things simple. Now a lot of these projects tend to have a dashboard as well, where you normally connect to that dashboard using your polkadot.js wallet, which should be this wallet here, okay. So you could actually see your username or even your main Substrate address. Just to make things simple, this is your main Substrate address, your generic Substrate address, if you want to call it that, which is applicable to every single account. And then derived from this address, you have these public addresses, which you see here, okay. That's why they're all different, but they ultimately all link to this generic Substrate address, okay. So that's to keep things simple for you and to understand how things work. Now if we go down here, we've got the test, West End, and Parachain. So this is actually the test network. As you can see here, this is the test network for Kusama. There's also the test network for Polkadot, testing Rococo and Parachains, as you can see here. This is another option. And now the live networks are all the solo chains. So what this basically means is these are projects that don't necessarily want to be Parachains, or maybe they want to be Parachains but are not Parachains yet, and have decided to build their own blockchain on top of Substrate. Substrate is the framework that Polkadot is built on top of. Now, if you've got a project here, it doesn't mean that is necessarily compatible with Polkadot. They're just on the Polkadot network in a way because they're on that same framework, but they're not necessarily compatible with Polkadot. You need to become a Parachain to actually be compatible with Polkadot. So that's why so many are fighting to become Parachains, and not that many solo chains out there, right? So as you can see, there are some solo chains like Subsocial is also a solo chain and a Parachain, okay. They had actually been a solo chain for quite some time. We've got some other ones here which are solo chains. For example, Darwinia, they have not become a Parachain yet, so they're a solo chain. They've also been a solo chain for quite some time. Chainx, exactly the same. They're only a solo chain right now. So yeah, this is an example here of how these things work. And then we've got the test networks, which are all the different testing networks that don't have any real value. And here you can actually get some good tips of what you're going to actually see building in the future. So we've got ones like Pangoro here, Pontem, which is one that's going to be coming up, a Realis network here. As you can see, all these different ones are testing ones, which are either going to decide to become solo chains or Parachains. It depends what they're going to do, right, eventually. And then there's a development one for with a local node here for developers, okay, if they want to develop. So now the other option I want to talk about is in relation to staking. So if we go to Kusama here and we switch, as you can see, there's the network tab, and once again I need to update the metadata. So I go to settings, metadata, update metadata, yes, do this, and then here, right? So over here you could see we've got different options. One of the other options that we've got, which is only applicable to the relay chains and to some parachains as well, right, is the teleport feature. So what this basically means, I know it may sound complicated, but what this basically means is that you can teleport your Kusama from the Kusama relay chain over to a test parachain, or even to another parachain which is not a testing one, in this case StateMine, okay, or Incoiter network. We've got that option too, but StateMine is a test parachain which is on the live network. So they're actually real value tokens that are actually on StateMine, okay. So you may want to teleport your Kusama there if you want to hold any of those tokens on StateMine. We'll take a look at that as well in a moment. Now, next up, I want to talk about the Parachains because this is very important as well. So now we can see all the Parachains that are on Kusama by simply going to network and going to Parachains. But before we do that, I just want to show you the staking option. So staking is only available to some networks. So Kusama has it, Polkadot has it, some other ones have it, like Darwinian, for example. You click on staking and here you are able to stake to these validators, which are basically nodes that are generating the blocks. And you are earning a share of the percentage that they're earning, right? So that's how you're actually getting those dividends, that passive income, by staking your Kusama or your Polkadot or anything else that is stakeable that has the feature here under network and staking. You are getting a share of those rewards. Okay, so that's the good thing about it. So how do you do it? You simply go to account actions here. You would be a nominator. Okay, you're not a validator if you don't have a node, but if you're if you're just a normal person who has some KSM and wants to stake, you go to nominator. You choose the account here, the stash account, and the stash account would be your cold wallet, and then the controller account will be your hot wallet. Okay, the one that you're using for the fees. So it does say here the controller account does not have sufficient funds available to cover transaction fees. Ensure that a funded controller is used. So because I don't have any funds in this specific account, I cannot stake. Okay, but if I did, I could use both the stash account and the controller account to be the same if I had enough Kusama. If I want to stake my Kusama, I do need to keep in mind that the bonding duration is 7 days. Okay, this means that if I want to unstake my Kusama, I need to wait a full 7 days before I can get my Kusama back. And for Polkadot, it's 28 days. Okay, so that's how that works. You could also choose where you want to be paid. Okay, I could choose to be paid to my stash account, increase the amount of stake, or I could choose to be paid to my stash account but to not increase the amount at stake, which means that I would have those funds available to me, or just specify another payment account. Okay, or maybe to the controller account, which is the hot wallet. I have that option as well, right? So that's another option that is available to me here, which is pretty cool. And again, for validator, I'm not going to go into it in this video. I don't even know the full details, but you actually need to have the virtual private server ready and everything. So it's not so easy to be a validator, but if you are interested, you would have to join their Discord page to learn more about that and ask the people in there, right? There would be a Discord page for Kusama's developers, for Polkadot developers. You can find that on the official Polkadot wiki page if you're interested to become a validator. So follow those steps there. Okay, so we're not going to go through these different options because these would be available to me if I would be staking, and because I'm not staking, I can't actually see this. But ultimately what you're doing is you can actually choose a number of validators from within this part of the functionality here of the staking functionality. You could choose them, which validators do you want to stake with, and then you would stake with them. Now what a lot of people do is they make this mistake of actually going here. So let me just show you here what I mean. Let me go to overview. Okay, so here we've got a list of validators. So what normally some people do, at least at the beginning, now we're not seeing people do this mistake anymore, is they used to copy the public address of these validators and they used to make transfers directly to this public address rather than actually follow the steps within the account section here. And this is how people have lost a lot of their funds. A lot of people have lost a lot of DOT, a lot of KSM and the other cryptocurrencies by making this mistake at the beginning. And that's why many people were pissed off with the complexity of the Polkadot web wallet. And I'm not gonna lie, it is complex, right? Especially if you're not techie, you're not gonna know that that this is what you shouldn't do. And look, they even added a warning here for you. Use the account actions to create a new validator, nominator, stash, and bond it to participate in staking. Do not send funds directly via transfer to a validator, but yet many people did. And that's why they had to add this message. So that's why you need to use the account actions. It's very, very important. I can't stress this enough. Do not send funds to a validator directly. They will receive them and they will not send them back to you, and then you'll be without your funds. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, next let's talk about the Parachains here. So these are the Parachains. Now here is basically a list of all the different live Parachains and how long is left of their lease. So as you can see here, 64 days remaining. This is the very first round. Karura, Bifrost, Kala, Shid, and these were from the first round. So that's why they've only got 64 days remaining before we're going to get our Kusama back and the lease is going to end. Some of these are going to be extending their lease. Some of them are not going to be extending the lease and they need to battle it out once again. But this is how it basically works here. As you can see, Calamari here, 146, 48 days, 232 days for some of these other ones. So yeah, And basically these are the most recent ones that have made it. Darwinia Crab Chain, as you can see here, 316 days, Litmus 316 days. These are the most recent ones because it does take 11 months for the lease on Kusama and 22 months on Polkadot. Okay, so that's something there. Now Parathreads, these are the ones that want to become Parachains but have not become Parachains yet. For example, Mangara has actually won a Parachain auction, but because they need to wait until 5 Parachains connect, or until 5 Parachain auctions complete, sorry, I should say, they're not going to upgrade. Okay, so they'll be upgrading together with those, as you can see here. Now if we go to auctions, as you can see, this is where the action happens, okay, in terms of the bidding. If you go to crowdloan here, you can see the currently active crowdloans, the ones that you can actually contribute to right now. Now I don't really recommend you using Polkadot web wallet here to contribute to crowdloans, because normally any of these crowdloans which are active would have a specific bonus to give you if you decide to use their website directly, or if you use one of their partner websites, right? So I would recommend you doing that rather than contribute directly here. But you could, if you are interested, you could simply contribute directly here. Look, see, from my account I could choose how much I want to contribute in KSM. Let's say I had 10 KSM, I could do that. I could click contribute, and then all I would have to do is sign and submit the transaction, and that's it, right? That would be it. It's really that simple. But again, not recommended because you don't get any special bonuses. You get the bonuses if you contribute directly through their website. Okay, they normally have a referral bonus, they normally have some sort of bonus, right? Early bird bonus and so on, right? So it's definitely better to do that rather than use this website here to contribute, but it is an option. Okay, if you want to choose this, you can do so. So this is pretty much how the crowdloan section works here. Now you've seen it. Now if we look at the governance here, we've got democracy here, which shows you the different referendums. So basically what you can do here is if you hold Kusama, even if you're staking Kusama, you can actually vote for a referendum which is pushed by the community, not necessarily a Parity developer. It could be just any other developer who wants to change something, right? You could change the way a functionality works by submitting a referendum proposal, and then people can simply vote. Again, you could see the I vote here, which is the yes vote, has 6,554 KSM for it, and then 3 KSM has been voted for the no vote here, as you can see, has been submitted. You can simply vote by choosing the vote button here, choosing the account you wish to vote with, and then your voting balance would show up here. Now we do have the voting value, okay, and this is in KSM. Let's say I had 10 KSM, but if I didn't want any lockup period, if I only wanted to lock my Kusama for the duration of this proposal, which is normally about 7 days for each proposal, then I would choose the 0.1x voting power with the no lock period, which means that I would actually be voting with only 1 KSM, even though I'm submitting 10 KSM, because I'm using only 10% of my voting power. But if I click on this drop down here, you could see that if I decide to lock it up for 8 days, I could actually use my full balance, my full voting power of 10 KSM. Okay, so that would actually show up there in the proposal. Now you could choose to go with 2x voting power, 6x voting power being the longest, but it does come at a cost of locking it for 256 days. So you need to be very, very sure you want to do that, because if your vote actually does win, the yes vote in this case, then you will be locking it up for 256 days. If you want to be trolling and you want to go against it with a no vote, now of course you're going to get your funds back after the end of this proposal if you lose the proposal. But if you don't lose the proposal, then your trolling is going to end up being very costly, because you're going to have your tokens locked up there for 256 days. So just be very careful on how you decide to vote for these proposals, but keep in mind that proposals are very much required by the community, because if you don't vote for any of these proposals, if there's no turnover, then things are just being done the way the developers want it, and sometimes it's not in the best interest of the community. Sometimes the community may want something else, but unfortunately many community members avoid voting. So you shouldn't avoid voting. Please do vote. It is strongly recommended. Again, if you are staking, you can vote. Okay, if you're locked up in a crowd loan, you cannot vote, unfortunately. But if you're staking your Kusama, if you're staking your DOT, you can vote, and is very much appreciated by the community. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is here. And then we've got the dispatch feature here, and this is basically showing you how many days are left here for each different options. As you can see, these are the register, the dispatch queue, and all the different auctions as well. As you can see, all the different actions and events are in this dispatch queue. So that's pretty much how that works here. Now we've got the council here, which are all the different council members. These are all the people that have a say in the Polkadot Foundation. I should say maybe in the Kusama one, because we are under Kusama now. If you go to Polkadot and look at the same option, you would have the council members for Kusama. So these are all the council members for Kusama. Sorry. If you go to the Polkadot ones, you would have the council members for Polkadot. In this case, we have the council members for Kusama. And as you can see, there are 19 different seats. There are 13 out of 19 runners up and 0 candidates here. And you can see Gavin Wood is one of them here. He's the prime voter. He's the current prime voter, the default voting, okay? And you can vote here, submit candidacy as well if you are interested. And then, of course, there's the motion section. There are no council motions there. Now, with regards to the treasury, okay? So with the treasury, if you go to tips here, what you can do, you can see a number of community members have been contributing in some way, shape, or form, right? Either being with a video, with an article, with anything you could think of, right? You can contribute in various ways. Now, if you decide to contribute, this is basically where you go for contributions. You basically submit a tip request so that the foundation can tip you for your contribution towards Kusama or towards Polkadot if you want to do it for Polkadot or for any other network. So you can see these are the number of tippers. And let me explain to you how this actually works, okay, before you get overly excited. Now, you do need to have a quorum, which means that more than 50% of the council members need to vote with a specific tip for you to actually receive that tip. So for a tip to be triggered, you need to have, I believe it's 11 right now. So you need to have 11 tippers before a tip will be triggered. So what this actually means is that each of these council members are actually telling the community what they're due to get, or what they could get, or what they're entitled to get, I should say, right? So for example, if they believe that you're entitled to get 8 Kusama, they will vote with 8 Kusama, but it doesn't mean that they're going to tip you directly. So these council members are not tipping you their 8 KSM from their wallet. They're just saying to the council, this person is entitled to receive 8 KSM from my point of view for their contribution. Okay, so they've contributed with dubbing 6 videos in Spanish. As you can see here, they're around 1 hour long. Okay, so they believe that this person deserves 8 KSM, which is just over 800, like $900 or so, probably a bit more right now, right? Around $900, right? And then as you can see here, all these different people are agreeing with this person, right? So if he was the first tipper, the second tipper then says, okay, I think 8 KSM is fair. I'm going to say the same. This person deserves to get 8 KSM. So then what happens is the median of all these different tips here are actually going to be given to the person, right? It actually goes to the council for approval. So what happens is a timer is kicked off then. And then because the median is 8 KSM, when the timer is over, which is around 12 hours or 14 hours, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I've done one of these, you basically have to wait for one of the council members to close off that tip, and then the transfer is being done directly to your wallet. Okay, so that's how it actually works here. So they very much recommend people to submit all these kinds of contributions for Kusama and Polkadot and any other networks. Okay, so that's what you should do. If you have any contribution to make, be it an article, be it a video, be it any kind of promotion, any kind of humanitarian video or whatever, right? Humanitarian effort. Okay, there's also the bounty section here. So for example, council alert app. This is the value of the bounty here, 28 Kusama. This is the curator, and the next action is in 3 days and 6 hours, as you can see here. So you can do that as well. If you are interested, again, you can actually check this on GitHub directly to see what are they talking about. What is this council alert app? Because here you've only got the information, but you don't know what it is until you actually go to it and read about it. Okay, so that's why you need to go to their GitHub page from their wiki page. You need to go to their wiki page first, and then they'll send you to their GitHub page so you can see what these bounties actually mean. Now for the developer section here, we're not going to go into all the details, but again, just as I showed you earlier with claiming your crowd loan contributions, you can click on this option here and you can see all the different features here that are available to you, and you can make calls directly here. But be very careful if you don't know what you're doing here, because you can end up causing other kinds of mess. Okay, so it's probably better to stay away from this unless you know what you're doing. For example, the extrinsic one here, this is a risky one, RPC calls, JavaScript, etc. With the settings and the metadata, you do actually need to update this all the time. Okay, so that's why I said if you're going to get that warning that you need to update your metadata, do it. Go to metadata, update your metadata. Okay, but yeah, this is pretty much how that bit works there. So yeah, I just wanted to basically talk about all these different features here to show you how it actually works. I hope you found this video informative. Please let me know in the comments below if there are any questions you may have, but I do think that I've covered everything, so hopefully that has answered your questions. And again, this is a detailed video for the Polkadot web wallet, the 2022 version. So the next one I'm going to be doing is in 2023. Hopefully we're going to be seeing more features, and hopefully by then the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystems are going to be a lot more involved. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.